Today, I wanted to make 2 more of those, 1 medium size and 1 small. Let's do it.
The first thing that I did was sketch it onto a piece of plywood, and I made sure to use the right dimensions for what I wanted, and that make it easiest to use the tools that I have. Then I glued it down to a separate sheet of plywood. In order to make sure that it glues down good, I used clamps and then screws where I couldn't get clamped. While the small throwback was drying, I drew out and cut out another square for the longer one outside. And then just like I did with the other one, I glued it down and held it in place using clamps and screws. After they were done drying, I was able to remove the clamps and then use a jigsaw to cut out the shape. Although this is pretty easy to do, it takes a little while because they're going through 2 layers of plywood. That's why whenever I was doing the bigger one, I just used a circular saw to cut out the straight parts, and then I went back with the jigsaw to get the curved parts. Whenever I was sketching the throwbacks, I made sure to make the ends of them exactly 4 inches, which is what this hole saw is, and that just makes it way easier because I don't have to actually cut out any circles. I can just use the hole saw. After I had 8 of those circles, I went to the router table and routed all the edges that don't have a circle being glued to them. I used a 5/8 inch roundover bit because that's about half of the width of the plywood, meaning it'll make a perfect circle. And then I did the same on one side of each of the 8 circles. And yeah, this is a little bit sketchy, but I couldn't really think of any better ways that I could do it. The next step was to drill a bunch of holes. I needed them on each end of the throwbacks and then on each of the circles that I made. And I was sure to make these holes the same size as the bars that are going to be going through them. I measured them and then cut them out to length, making 4 in total, meaning each throwback is going to have 2. I was able to use these bars to help line up the holes in the circles with the holes that are in the throwbacks. This made gluing them much easier. I used that same method on each end of the throwbacks, and then I flipped them over and did the same thing again. This was one of the most time consuming parts because I had to wait for the glue to dry before I could do the other side. In this time that I was waiting, I took the file and made each of the ends of the pipes a lot smoother, that way you could grab it without it cutting you. After all the glue was dried, I was able to take these pipes and then get a drill and put a screw straight through the pipes, that way it would stop it from spinning. And just like with everything else, I repeated it on the other 3 sides until each of the handles were in place and couldn't spin. And now there was only one piece missing. I needed circles for each of the centers where it would rotate around the bar. I drew them out on a 2x10 and then cut them out with the jigsaw. Then I routed them with the same router that I used on the edges of the throwbacks. Then I went back to the drill press and used a 1 3/4 inch hole saw. This made the holes the perfect size to fit over the bars that we have outside. Then after gluing the circles in place, they were finally ready to paint. And I didn't do anything too fancy, I just painted the main body red and then all the circles I painted black. After all of this, they were finally done, so I gotta try them out. So here's a trick that I landed using all 3 of the throwbacks that I now have. And I wish I was joking, but I got this on my very first try today, which can only mean that all of my practice must be paying off, because I'm actually getting pretty good at these. Thank you guys so much for watching to this point, and let me know if you have any other obstacles that you want to see me build.
Let's go.